Everyone's trying to find the secret high income job or skill to learn, but what if that's the wrong question? If you think about it, there are people doing the exact same job title, exact same skill, and making completely different amounts of money on it. So for example, an accountant saying that they make $20 an hour versus an accountant saying they make $200 an hour. Or an illustrator saying they make $8 an hour versus an illustrator making $150 an hour. Web developer, $5 an hour. Web developer, $150 an hour. Graphic design, $6 an hour. Graphic designer, $220 an hour. The difference is high income skills are skills that solve high income problems. High income problems are problems for people that can pay you a lot of money to solve that problem. Okay, so here's the scale of problems that I like to often think about. Small problem is problems that aren't super frustrating. They're like, yeah, they're annoying, they're not ideal. Big problem is like, I can't fall asleep 3 a.m. I'm worried about this problem. It's destroying my life quality. So when you so small. Okay. So when you solve small problems, you generate small amounts of value, especially if you do it for people who have maybe not a lot of money or don't have the interest or disposable income to spend to solve a problem because it's not as pressing of a problem. That leads to people willing to pay you small money. If you solve a big problem, you generate big value. If you do that for people who have more money, who have the disposable income, who want to throw money at the problem, you end up with people willing to pay you big money. That is how you get up the scale of your rates with the same type of skill. Now you might be thinking, Daya, okay, but how do I tell if something is a big problem or a small problem? Good question. This is kind of the criteria that I developed, and I like to use it with every single client, customer that I think about, every product I think about starting. How closely tied the problem is to everyone's 3 precious resources, so that's time, money, energy, it is, the bigger problem it is. So if it is a huge problem in relation to it's keeping them from making money or saving money, or it is sucking up all their energy or sucking up all their time and they are already sparse on time, how much impact it has on reaching someone's desires, so their core deep desires, whatever their big dream is, the closer it is to that desire, the bigger of a problem you're solving for them. How much the person hates doing this themselves, the more they hate it, the bigger of a problem you're solving, right? Because it's not really a problem if this person's like, well, I don't actually need help solving this thing. Like, I'm good to just Google and figure it out and do it on my own. How scarce the skill is, aka how hard is it for somebody else to just learn and pick it up, the bigger of a problem it is. It makes sense, because if it's super easy for everyone to learn it, then it will become more competitive, then maybe it's not solving as big of a problem for people because they have more options and it's not hard to find somebody to help them solve this problem. So that's kind of how I think about it. So anytime you're thinking about a skill, a product, a service, a kind of customer you want to work with, client you want to work with, think through these things and be like, where do I think on the scale of small to big problem it is? So basically, don't ask what skill should I learn, what job title should I put on my LinkedIn. Ask, what problem can I solve? How big is that problem? Who has this problem? And now we're about to talk about what those big problems are to give you some idea, give some juices to flow. The juices are not flowing in my brain right now. To get the juices in your brain flowing towards what kind of problems you might want to solve. So I've worked with a lot of business owners over the past 9 years. I've spoken to a lot of business owners. I'm friends with a lot of business owners. I would say business owners have a plethora of problems. And guess what? They have the money to pay to solve their problems, which is why I want to focus on business owners specifically in this example. So I would say the majority of problems that a business owner has can fit into one of these 5 buckets. And if you learn a skill that solves one of these and you do it in the right way, which we'll talk about, you'll always be able to make money. So the traffic problem. Every single business that wants to make money needs a healthy traffic source. And business owners are very busy. They are wearing 47 hats. They are being pulled in a million different directions. They have so many things on their plate they have to take care of that sometimes the traffic thing is not as high of a priority as it really needs to be for a business to have steady cash flow, which normally means they end up being completely inconsistent, following random trends, starting on this platform, then quitting, then starting on this platform, then quitting, having no strategy in place to convert people, all of which leads to no sales. Huge problem. When there are no sales coming into a business, everything else screeches to a halt. So, examples of how you can take a skill and solve that problem in the right way. Social media manager. Great skill, great job. Some people charging very little money for it, some people charging a lot of money for it. Here's some examples that we found from the Freelancing Females database of how much people who are charging on the higher end. That's just to show you it's possible. So here's an example of how you can be a social media manager that's maybe solving smaller side problems versus bigger side problems. So smaller side problems might be social media managers who position themselves as a task doer and really lack that contextual strategy of understanding everything holistically and presenting a strategy that makes sense in the context of the product, the funnel, the customer, the industry, all of those things. they might not be adding any uniqueness or novelty or creativity to their social media content strategy, which especially with AI, if you don't have uniqueness or novelty or human element and authenticity to it, it's just not going to perform. An SMM that's solving a small problem might also develop strategies that don't actually take into the context properly and thus doesn't align with the business or funnel goals, all of which basically leads to no results for the client. If you don't solve the big problem for the client, which again we just talked about is traffic, right? Driving traffic, understanding where traffic comes from, how to get it to come into the funnel, how to get people to convert, which is the big problem, you generate no results. So how could you do it in a way that does solve big problems? You get 100% clear on the customer's problems and desires, you manage the entire workflow, you understand how to capture and keep attention, you're always up to date on what's working currently because social media moves so fast, you're thoughtful, you're creative, your strategy is intentional and tied to the business and funnel goals, the client goals as well probably, and you've done extensive audience competitor research. So that's an example. Another example, if you want to be an ads manager can be paid very, very well if they do it in the right way, right? So you could solve small problems like run basic campaigns that focus on clicks and impressions, have no real funnel or offer strategy, which means it doesn't really convert, but I mean, you are running the ads, but you're not super fussed about what's going on afterwards. You are reporting on surface metrics that don't really show the ROI, or you could do it in a way that does solve the big problem. You could build an ad funnel actually tied to business goals. You're focused on metrics that actually matter. Maybe you do proper A/B testing, conversion tracking. You are up to date on what's going on with these ad platforms and the algorithm because they're changing how their ad system works all the time. Another example, I have paid great money to YouTube strategists. I was like, this is a huge problem and I can see the potential ROI of YouTube for my business. I can see the vision, I can see the desire. So I was like, I'm willing to throw money at this problem. The issue was there were also a lot of YouTube strategists that were not actually in tuned enough to what my big problem was, and they weren't helping me solve that problem. Well, for some of them, they weren't deep in their craft. They aren't actively learning and studying what's working. YouTube, like any other media platform, moves pretty quick, so you have to stay super up to date. Suggested the same types of thumbnails that we were already making that I was like, this isn't performing well, so you're not really adding value. They're making lists of copy and paste titles or copy and paste like hooks with zero creative input and not really helping us differentiate and like build a real authentic relationship with the audience. And they had no thought or understanding of the audience that I actually wanted to talk to and be in a community with. So big problem solving. YouTube strategists, right? Deep in their craft, studying constantly, thinking strategically about what makes something work, what not. They're really super studious about what's going on. And as we go through this video, you might notice me saying a few qualities and like soft skills, even though I hate that it's called soft skills because these are actually like the most important skills you need to make a job work for you and to make great money over time. But you might notice a few of them. First one is studying, studious. They care about their craft and they want to be as good as they can at what they are doing, and they're studying constantly and they have that curiosity to learn. That makes a huge difference to how much money someone earns, honestly. They have a deep understanding of storytelling, tension, human psychology, curiosity. They understand context. They can adjust advice based on that context. Every client, every human being has so much context. If you don't take the time to learn that context, you cannot really craft a strategy or advice that is a unique and good fit for them. Being able to holistically understand what somebody wants and listen and process what they're saying that they want versus just give them some kind of like a blanket statement or blanket advice is so important. And creativity. Creativity is another one of these like secret soft skills that I think is getting so much more important than ever before, especially now with AI. Like creativity is like one of the top 3 skills I'm hiring for right now, where I'm like, if somebody is truly creative, they can be novel, they can take something that's working in another industry or another format and make it work and apply it to my thing, and it's unique, it's fresh, it's interesting, it makes me lean in, I'll pay big money for that. Okay, cool. So that's the first big problem, first big folder of business owner problems, traffic. Okay, so next one, conversion problem. Conversion problem is the business owner has somebody's attention, has maybe lots of people's attention, but nobody wants to take action, which leads to no sales. Big problem again. So you can think of like all these content creators who are getting millions of views on their videos, and maybe they have products, maybe they don't have products, but nothing is converting on the back end. There must be some way to capitalize on it. So one example of a skill you could learn is copywriting. Copywriting is a very highly paid skill if you do it correctly. We found lots of examples of that. So copywriting, solving a small problem, could be positioning yourself as like, for example, a content writer that can write anything, which means you have less speciality, less niche skill, which maybe leads to okay quality work, probably makes makes it harder to land clients as well if you don't have a specific niche that you are like dominating for. They get straight to writing the topic without properly understanding the context for the business, what they're doing, the context of the audience, of the person reading, uses AI without quality control. I actually think people who are using AI to make their work better is great. I think the issue is just when people are using AI to be lazy. Solving big problems could look like positioning yourself as a proper copywriter in a specific niche, taking a strategist approach. You understand that buyer psychology, the context that guides people through each stage of the funnel, for example. You learn and adapt to the brand's unique voice. You do market research, you're A/B testing, you're optimizing for ROI. All right, another one, for example, web developer. Lots of web developers making great money, over 6 figures. Solving small problem web developer could be just building simple drag and drop sites, focusing on aesthetics, but not so much functionality or goal. Maybe have limited technical problem solving, or you don't really care about like problem solving for the client. When something comes up, no result for client. Solving big problems could look like building websites with the contextual goal of leads and sales for the business owner. You are intentional about the customer and the market that you're developing for. You are thoughtful, creative, strategic in approach. Third problem is the delivery problem. The business can get customers but can't always keep them. The challenge is being able to deliver an amazing product experience that keeps people happy long after they buy by 1, improving the core product or service itself, making it as good of an offer as you possibly can, and 2, by increasing lifetime value of each customer, which means we don't have to keep getting new people all the time because the people that are buying from us love us and they keep buying all the other things we're making. It's always cheaper to get someone who already trusts you to buy from you again than to acquire cold leads, right? An example of a skill or a job that can solve this problem in a great way is a program manager. We saw program managers that are making 6 figures as well. Small problem version could be focusing on random admin tasks, scheduling calls, you're manually organizing things, you're not thinking systematically, you're managing daily to-dos instead of the business outcomes. Again, I think all of this is coming to the soft skill of being able to think contextually. It's almost like you have to take their big problem and make it your big problem. So solving big problems could look like hyper-focusing on customer satisfaction and getting results for the customers, thoughtfully designing the proper client journey so people are truly delighted and satisfied every step way through, creating systems that highlight results and help them identify problems before they become problems, finding out where the program is draining time, energy, or profit and fixes it. And I will just say, this not only makes you a great hire once somebody has hired you, but if you can get clarity on the big problem, when you are pitching, when you are applying to jobs, when you are interviewing, that is magic. Okay, the fourth folder of problems is the energy problem. The business owner is one person, most of the time CEO, one person, limited time, limited energy. There comes a point where it's actually physically, mentally, emotionally impossible to do absolutely everything that they have to do in their business. Speaking from experience, so they need more people, they need better systems, they need automations, they need support, basically. So there are lots of things you can do here, and this is actually my personal example because this is essentially what I chose to do. I chose to become a digital business manager, and that's also what I train people to do in my business. So yes, you could do this in a way where you solve small problems, like maybe you position yourself as a virtual assistant and you're a task doer that handles the day-to-day small things as they come up. You handle admin tasks, email, like basic things, and maybe you have like a limited knowledge of like tools, frameworks, that kind of stuff. You're not really thinking contextually or strategically for the client, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just talking about how to potentially level up the way you're thinking so that you can make bigger money because you're solving bigger problems, okay? So this is how I did my best to solve big problems. I was like really looking at all my clients being like, what are they struggling with? Why are they not where they want to be? Like they have all these big dreams for their business. What is blocking them? What is the issue? So how I tried to solve their big problems was I tried to deeply understand the business needs, the desires, being like, what do they want? What kind of business lifestyle do they actually want? I was helping them make and drive actionable plans. So actually making the project plan and following through on it and making sure these things are getting done and not everything is on them to monitor and supervise. I was helping them find bottlenecks, unblocking their team. I was taking proper ownership, which is very important. I think delegation and ownership are very different things. Like delegation from a business owner is like, here you do it, but I'll make sure you do it. Ownership, when you come into someone's business and you want to take full ownership, it means that thing is off your plate. I will make sure it gets done for you. So that's kind of how I thought about this role when I was doing it full time. For years as a freelancer, I was getting paid really well. I had 6 figures as a digital business manager because I was solving this problem very strategically for the business owner where they could get their life back and they were like, oh my gosh, I don't hate my business anymore. I can go on vacation. I have a team that's happy. I have projects that are getting done. I have systems in place, so not everything lives in my head. The fifth problem, a lot of people doing great work in this problem, the clarity problem. right? Running a business is actually kind of really hard and confusing and frustrating at times. Like, there are so many decisions you have to make. There's burnout, there's not knowing which direction to take or what tasks to work on. The business owner often feels stuck, second guessing everything, not having a clear path, because there isn't a clear path in business really. So often they will need some help from an expert with clarity. So lots of people doing great things with business coaching and consulting. I will say tons of people slap on the title of coach without full understanding of what it is they're solving or the problem that they should be focused on. And I think that's my issue with sometimes the way people present themselves as coaches. Okay, so obviously lots of people making great money as business coaches. So solving small problems, no clear contextual understanding. That's a huge problem for me when I talk to somebody that I'm thinking about hiring as a coach and they don't really understand the big picture of what I'm trying to do. They don't try to ask questions. They give general advice based on their personal opinions rather than like data-backed things or things that they know work and have driven ROI and are like based on success stories, case studies with their things or their own businesses. They don't hold you accountable. They don't track your progress. So how do you do this in a way that solves big problems? Potentially positioning as a proper coach, actual proven coaching frameworks. You understand what they're going through step A, step B. You have something laid out where you can help them follow. You keep them focused, right? Instead of being like, okay, maybe try this, then try this, then try this, and you're overwhelming them and then they're so overwhelmed they don't take action. They work with the CEO to understand the context, the goals, they create an action plan, they identify the real bottlenecks, and they really give them a way to work through those bottlenecks. If it's mindset, they have contextual understanding, they hold the CEO super accountable, keep progress, they stay on top of them, and get them what they need, depending on what they need, right? So, TLDR, making great money is about generating high value for high-income clients by deeply understanding the big problem you're helping them solve and doing a good job of actually solving that problem, aka actually making an impact on the business. And if you're looking for more inspo or specific business types that you can start, the best and worst for the upcoming year, then we also have that video for you here with lots of examples. That'll be a really fun one. That one is also research-backed, and we did a lot of research for this one. Hope to see you over there. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Okay. Bye!